I'm saying that everything that happens in a business that's based off of pretend that seems like a setup is.
I'm saying that all that occurs in a business that is based off an imagine that appears as though an arrangement is what I'm talking about, is if Jesse Small and Lee Daniels professionally make stories that are not genuine, and they make them so great that individuals trust them and get them so. Incidentally, Beyonce has gone into an all-out alarm mode since her recording unexpectedly became public. Beyonce is essentially the meaning of a glittery music way. She has everything piles of grants a billion. In dual realm and faithful fans who've been there since her perilously enamored days. She resembles a fine wine just getting better with time yet endure a sec. With the video everybody's expression that it wasn't simply karma and ability feline, Williams, who's typically straight up, is placing the focus on Beyonce's move in an honest conversation with Carrie Champion Feline, glossed over nothing he shared a few in the background soil on how the music business truly functions. Feline calls attention to there are thought process are godsends or vocation characterizing disasters are undeniably arranged out. Take the popular Super Bowl occurrence with Janet Jackson, for example. Feline proposes that while these minutes appear to be unconstrained, there's generally somebody trading out for Janet's situation. Her rep took a plunge yet in Timberlake's profession. Didn't think twice. Feline's not persuaded. It's all happened position. So in these circumstances, there's a business included and there's genuine she included, and someone's profiting from this thing that seems to be gracious that happened. Nah, no chance. Felines dropping a reality bomb clarifying that, in the disarray of showbiz, there's dependably a cash point. Somebody's taking advantage of the dramatization. He's encouraging fans to look past the surface, particularly when it includes your numero uno stars. The truth may be not exactly stylish, and that's right, this incorporates Sovereign Bae herself. It's all essential for the game they're playing. Ying, how could you figure it would be unusual on the off chance that they went crazy and said a story that went out to not be valid? Why, how could we feel that he's for all intents and purposes saying hello, awaken and smell the espresso? Don't venerate your number one stars without addressing on the grounds that occasionally the truth isn't quite so blushing as it appears, and that exhortation goes for Beyonce too. So the following time you're sticking to insane in affection, perhaps pause for a minute. Two could consider what's truly occurring offstage. Beyonce's effect on the music world is unquestionable, yet it's not all shimmering clean. She's explored through her portion of discussions, and one fascinating viewpoint is her association with vocalist Amory. What's the story there? Presently, we should get into the Beyonce versus Amory adventure. A story as old as Webb discusses consistently. The Web restores the discussion, contrasting Amar's melody One Thing with Beyonce's 2003 banger Insane in effect. Eye on the similitudes, they're quite difficult to disregard. A few fans contend and Blemish wore the crown first before Beyonce took the spotlight. Think about the music recordings, the similarity is striking. This has ignited conversations for certain fans proposing that Beyonce could play had a influence in cutting M. Blemish's music vocation. Short for those not in the know, Amy, a Korean-American vocalist with an unmistakable voice and ghost style, caused disturbances in the mid-2000s. Her large break accompanied the 2005 hit One Thing, which caught her few lofty designations, including a Grammy for Best Female R&B Vocal Execution. In 2006, Amory's life changed when she collaborated with a DC club advertiser, which ultimately drove her to make her Rich Har their most memorable gathering, a McDonald's parking garage where Rich shared his beats, and Amory chimed in. This unrehearsed meeting started off a productive, coordinated effort. Amory herself said in a 2002 meeting that working with Rich generally are something extraordinary together. They made hits that even propelled significant burdens like Gel, and obviously Beyonce. Amory appeared to be ready for fame, her tunes in any event getting the ears of the business big enchiladas, yet similarly as her profession was bursting into flames, a street BL seemed her name was criticizing North of One Thing, requesting it be more significant. In spite of Amory and Rich Harrison's endeavors, Columbia Records was difficult to satisfy. It required a portion of an extended period of pull of war before the track could sparkle, yet that wasn't the finish of the difficulties. When fans saw a certain something and Beyonce's Insane in affection sounded all in all too comparable, the Beehive hurried to protect their sovereign, guaranteeing Beyonce's hit was first. Yet stand by brief. Rich Harrison The virtuoso behind the two tunes had seen insane and adoration at his disposal prior to moving to Beyonce's side, and when Beyonce ventured into the scene around a similar time as Amory's spotlight began to blur happenstance, a few fans thought not bits of hearsay twirled that Amory was overall purposefully pushed out, recommending Beyonce had an influence in subverting her. In spite of Beyonce being a newbie, she had the business big shot moving her, leaving Amory in a predicament. The Beehive, ever steadfast, immediately exposed the bits of gossip, bringing up that insane inaffection hit the scene 2 years before Amory's track. They contended that without Beyonce's prosperity, one thing could have never made it out. They had a point, yet the situation starts to get interesting. Both Beyonce and Blemish shared an association through Rich Harrison, a sought-after maker who'd worked with legends like Mary J. Blige and Toni Braxton. When Beyonce's father, Matthew Knowles, likewise a major name in the business, acquainted her with Harrison, eyebrows raised. Fans guessed that Beyonce collaborating with Harrison was no accident, except for a purposeful move to sideline Ambla. Mish, it seemed to be Matthew Knowles, was the mannequin expert behind this chess game. So what's the scoop with Tiffany Red and her dauntless hollers about the music business? Tiffany doesn't keep down. She's doling out tattle relentless. And yes, even Sovereign Bay is in her sights, is on the grounds that there's a point of reference that has set the justification for why I got down on Beyonce is on the grounds that Beyonce is the Michael Jackson of our age. Tiffany guarantees that Beyonce has been catching credit for melodies she hasn't written herself, and she's not mixing the pot without proof. She professes to have the proof. What's going on with Beyonce? Tiffany's putting her on impact for supposedly stashing up to 30% of the songwriting credits and distributing privileges, all without contributing innovatively. That is tossing some significant shade, especially while you're perched on the high position of the music world. And it's like Amaria attempting to get back what she accepted was legitimate like hers, yet by then, Beyonce was at that point taking off, so the discussion about who dropped their melody initially is a bit unstable. Recollect Feline's understanding on the flightiness of the music business. Here's a delicious bit: makers could sit on mother-lode thoughts for a long time until the ideal craftsman walks around. Rich Harrison let it slip that insane in adoration was one of those diamonds kept in obscurity until the powers of Providence lined up in a AMTV visit. Harrison uncovered he and this executioner snare examined from a 1970 tune, and he realized it was a hit in the making. Yet here's the turn: he didn't hurry to pitch it, trusting that Beyonce will show revenue. Some web investigators think the track was at first peered toward for Amory, yet Columbia Records had more excellent plans, looking for a greater star. Harrison referenced, "No doubt I was saving it, not actually shopping it, since you would rather not uncover your hand too early, it could leave a terrible taste." So despite the fact that Beyonce didn't straightforwardly mirror Amar's energy, she perhaps grabbed the opportunity right from under her. Amar even had an idea that sounded strikingly like what might later be Beyonce's Renaissance collection visuals. Presently, fans are parted. Some firmly safeguard Beyonce, guaranteeing her guiltlessness, while others point fingers at Amar's mark for failing. Amory's collection didn't make a big deal about a sprinkle without the vigorous sponsorship it merited at this point. This venture has certainly smeared Beyonce's glossy picture, provoking fans to scrutinize the immaculateness of Sovereign B's Corona. The waters are ruined. Beyonce's been enduring an onslaught before for purportedly guaranteeing credits not completely hers, extending back to her predeterminations kid. Recollect the ruckus when Lute Fusari blamed Matthew Knowles for credit burglary over a track. Fusari affirmed he began, and afterward there's Carrie Hilson, who confronted serious reaction for voicing comparable worries. Even Future ringed in, asserting he wasn't credited as merited for his work on Plastered Love, a track he says he composed. The debate highlights a tangled trap of credit, innovativeness, and clout in the music business, passing on fans to filter through the clamor. What was the record Beyonce did later or before Renaissance? Those scholars are being taken advantage of. Those essayists, time isn't paid for their administrations, are not paid for their commitment to the sound record. Ording isn't paid for taking her dissatisfactions to Instagram. She voiced her interest straightforwardly, getting down on Beyonce for not remunerating lyricists as they ought to be. She implied that Beyonce's possibilities winning a Grammy for Collection of the Year